Have you ever imagined living in a box? What if that box was in a place so unusual that you would never have thought of living there? From freezing cold to the middle of the ocean, there are places around the world where people have built their homes in more bizarre situations than the imagination can imagine. From the coldest place on Earth to a micronation floating in the sea, here are the 10 most bizarre places where people actually live. Number 10. Hanging Temple of Hengshan. Before we start, please like, subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are watching from. The Hanging Temple is one of the most famous tourist attractions in the area around Datong, in Shanxi Province, China. This is certainly an unusual place, even if it's not technically found in the woods. This 1,500-year-old temple is perched 246 feet above the ground, which undoubtedly adds an extra level of excitement to daily worship, or at least it would if that were still its main function. Nowadays, the temple is a historic landmark and a major tourist destination, primarily because of its unique architecture, which makes it appear as if it is hanging off the side of a cliff. The temple is the only site in China that integrates 3 traditional Chinese philosophies: Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. Although it looks as though it is merely suspended in mid-air, the structure is actually supported by massive oak beams anchored into holes carved into the cliffside, making it relatively stable. However, you probably shouldn't jump up and down while visiting. After all, it has been standing there for 1.5 millennia. Number 9. The coldest city in the world. Yakutsk holds the official title of the coldest city on Earth. Located in Siberia, Russia, winter temperatures in this region frequently drop below -6 degrees Celsius, which is, to put it mildly, extremely cold. But as if that weren't enough, it gets even colder. The lowest temperature ever recorded in Yakutsk was a bone-chilling -83.9 degrees Celsius, a record set in February 1987. How do people even function in such extreme conditions? A thick winter coat alone is nowhere near enough to keep you warm here. Located about 280 miles south of the Arctic Circle, Yakutsk is home to approximately 300,000 residents who manage to live relatively normal lives during the summer months. But when winter arrives, life becomes incredibly challenging. Simple daily activities that many of us take for granted become nearly impossible. For example, wearing glasses in winter is out of the question. They would freeze to your face. Driving is another challenge, as cars must be left running 24/7. If a car is turned off, it becomes virtually impossible to restart it until the weather warms up. Even buying milk is a different experience here, as it is sold in solid, frozen blocks. On top of these extreme conditions, Yakutsk experiences dramatic variations in daylight hours. In winter, the sun is out for only about 4 hours a day, while in summer, it remains light for up to 21 hours a day. This extreme environment makes Yakutsk one of the most unusual places where people live, proving that human adaptability knows no bounds. Number 8. Hallstatt, China. Hallstatt is one of Austria's most picturesque villages, but this particular Hallstatt is not in Europe at all. It's in China. That's right. An exact replica of the historic Austrian town has been completely reconstructed in Guangdong Province, China. This might sound bizarre, but China actually has a habit of recreating famous global landmarks within its borders. Chinese architects and urban planners have developed full-scale replicas of iconic structures, including the Sphinx, the Eiffel Tower, and even the Venetian canals. The original Hallstatt, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, has existed in Austria for hundreds of years, resembling a real-life fairy tale. The Chinese version, however, has only been around since 2012. Despite its recent construction, the replica somehow retains a sense of history, even if it's somewhat disorienting to find yourself in what looks like an Austrian mountain village in the heart of China. The properties in this recreated Hallstatt were marketed to wealthy Chinese buyers who might not have had the opportunity to purchase homes in the real Austrian village. Regardless of how strange it may seem, people do actually live here. Number 7. The tunnels of Bucharest. In Bucharest, the capital city of Romania, hundreds of people live in the sewers. It is estimated that around 1,100 children are part of this underground world. However, I don't think there are any Ninja Turtles down there. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Romania's orphanages were abruptly shut down, leaving an entire generation of children homeless with nowhere to go. Many of them sought refuge underground when they were abandoned on the streets. That was many years ago, and ever since, even more children have found a home in the tunnels beneath the city. These people live in the sewers because they have nowhere else to go. Many of them are drug addicts with no other options. There is very little help available for these desperate individuals who endure such dreadful conditions. One charity provides basic medical care, but the government, well, they offer nothing to these lost and forgotten people. Number 6, Hallstatt Island. This might be one of the most remote-looking houses we've seen on our list so far. It's located on Hallstatt Island, off the coast of Iceland, a place so bizarre in appearance that it looks like it was ripped straight from the pages of a fairy tale. The house sits right in the middle of this strange green slice of land. Over the years, many rumors and legends have swirled around this eerie-looking place, but the truth, well, it's not all that exciting. This island was once considered the ultimate spot for puffin hunting, which, yes, sounds awful, but it was a common pastime for some. Contrary to speculation, the house is not a secret hideout for a millionaire, nor the retreat of a religious fanatic. It doesn't even belong to Björk, despite persistent rumors. In reality, the house is just a lodge built in 1953 for puffin hunters to rest in between their bird hunting excursions. So, the real story isn't as mysterious as it might seem. Nowadays, only members of a hunting association are allowed to use the lodge. It's not open to regular folks like you and me. Number 5, Drina Riverhouse. Now, here's a house that looks like it washed up on a tiny island in the middle of a river. If there was ever a storybook home, this would be it. This is the Drina Riverhouse, located in Serbia. The story behind this charming little house goes like this. In the summer of 1968, a group of friends had been swimming in the river when they decided to rest on a rocky island in the middle of the water. However, the rocks were sharp, jagged, and incredibly uncomfortable. So, they started dragging over planks of wood to create a smoother surface to sit on. Then, they built a little shelter to escape the scorching sun. That's when the idea took shape. The following summer, one young man decided to build something more permanent. He and a group of friends transported materials by kayak, slowly but surely bringing the structure to life. The only problem? The Drina River is wild and unpredictable. It has washed away the house no fewer than 6 times. But each time the river destroyed it, another determined builder would step up and make a stronger version. Over time, this little house in the middle of the river became a world-famous attraction, photographed by thousands of visitors and celebrated across the globe. Number 4, Mount Fanjing. To reach this place, any intrepid visitor must climb over 8,000 steps. Now, that's a long way to go just to peek at a temple. But this is no ordinary sight. Perched atop Mount Fanjing, in China's southwestern Wuling mountain range, stands the Red Cloud's Golden Peak, a natural rock spire that supports 2 small Buddhist temples. These temples have stood the test of time for over 500 years. Can you even begin to imagine how Buddhist monks hauled up all the materials to build those original temples, climbing a sheer rock formation at such extreme heights? That remains a mystery to this day. Just think about it. Most of us struggle to carry a simple backpack, let alone construction materials up a near vertical climb. In recent times, the structures have been rebuilt using stronger materials to help them withstand harsh weather conditions and powerful winds, which are an unavoidable reality at such high altitudes. Nowadays, drone camera enthusiasts are in love with this place, capturing breathtaking aerial views of the temples. And luckily for us, that means we can all admire this astonishing sight without having to risk our lives or burst a blood vessel climbing a mountain. What a relief. Number 3, the Meteora monasteries. Throughout history, It seems that monasteries have always been built in the most remote, highest, and hardest to reach places imaginable, and Greece's Meteora monasteries are no exception. These astonishing monasteries, perched atop gigantic rock pillars, were built centuries ago. They offer breathtaking panoramic views of the surrounding landscapes and the distant sea, making them look like something straight out of a fantasy novel. The word Meteora translates to suspended in the air, which perfectly describes these gravity-defying structures. Today, 6 monasteries remain active, housing a small number of monks and nuns who continue to practice their faith in these remote retreats. In 1988, the Meteora monasteries were granted UNESCO World Heritage status, further cementing their place as one of Greece's most extraordinary cultural landmarks. Lately, these perched holy places have seen a renewed wave of popularity, all thanks to drone cameras. With epic, sweeping aerial shots, it's easy to see why they've become a favorite among photographers and travelers alike. Number 2. Ponte Vecchio, Italy. The Ponte Vecchio, located in Florence, Italy, is one of the most visited tourist spots in the entire city, and for good reason. The name Ponte Vecchio literally means old bridge in Italian, which sounds pretty basic and doesn't quite do justice to this incredible historical landmark. In fact, until 1218, this was the only bridge crossing the Arno River in Florence. The current version known, however, was built in 1345, replacing the original latter, which had been washed away by a flood. One of the most unique aspects of Ponte Vecchio is that it features several small buildings on top, which is pretty unusual for a bridge. Since the 13th century, various shops have operated there, including butchers, fishmongers, and tanners. However, in 1593, a decree was issued stating that only goldsmiths and jewelers were allowed to have shops on the bridge. This was because the Medici family, one of the most powerful dynasties in Italian history, used the bridge as a private passageway to move safely across the city without having to mingle with the common folk. At that time, the bridge was strategically modified to include a secret corridor, allowing the Medicis to travel between their palaces without ever setting foot on the dangerous, crowded streets below. After all, they couldn't risk some dirty peasant brushing against them, could they? Number 1. Sealand out in the North Sea. About 7.5 miles off the coast of Suffolk, there's an offshore platform that has become one of the most unusual places to call home. In 1967, a man named Roy Bates declared this platform to be the Principality of Sealand, a micronation that has been occupied by Bates's family and associates ever since. Before becoming an unofficial country, this platform was built by the British during World War II. Afterward, it was used by pirate radio broadcasters until Bates took it over in 1967. One of the most dramatic moments in Sealand's history came in 1978, when mercenaries attempted to invade the micronation. But Bates, somehow, managed to repel the attackers, proving that the platform could be more than just a funky home. It was a fortress in its own right. Though Sealand isn't officially recognized as a sovereign state and sits within British territorial waters, the idea of living in a floating nation does have a certain adventurous charm, don't you think? Of course, I wouldn't recommend it if you're looking for easy access to shops, and selling it might be tricky, considering its distinct lack of curb appeal. Which one of these unusual spots would you want to call home? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out the other cool stuff on the screen, and I'll see you next time.